Hello everyone, I'm Chris Mars and welcome back to my channel. So today I've got a great interview with Dave West, who started off his career as bass player with the Wham, and he talks about his relationship with George Michael and Andrew Ridgeley, how he started in the music industry and what has led him to become now the managing director of one of the UK's leading online recording equipment distributors at Studio Spares. So do watch this great interview, leave your comments below, don't forget to subscribe, and look forward to seeing you again in the next interview. Enjoy. Dave West, hello and welcome to my little video. How are you doing?
Chris.
Nice to see you.
I'm good.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you, sir? Are you well?
Yeah, very good. All things considered, had my second jab. I'm feeling like death warmed up, but I'm okay.
You still look beautiful.
Oh, thank you very much. Yes, as always. Yes. So yeah, it's great to have you here on my video channel.
Thank you for asking.
Yeah, well, thanks. Really appreciate you doing this. So, tell me about your musical past and your present, and
Oh my lord.
where are you going? Where did you start? How did you start your musical journey? When did it all
I
start,
actually,
and where did you start?
oh right, okay. So I was talking about this the other day actually
You were.
with a friend of mine. I actually I started when I was really really young, Chris. You know when you get tied into something and then you just can't let it go.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I was a guitarist, like most frustrated bass players. I started life as a quite a poor guitarist, if I'm honest. But a friend of mine, Gary, his name was, he was in a band that was signed. I think I was just 16. And he was in a band that was signed, and they were signed to EMI, and they were going off and doing dates and everything. And I was sort of sat at home with my guitar, still learning Smoke on the Water or whatever it was. And then one day he called me and he said, "Dave," he said, "Do you play bass?" I said, "Good God, no! Why would I possibly play bass?" And he goes, "Oh, it's just that our bass players left." And we've got these dates in Portugal. Is it in Braga Stadium actually? And we were looking for a bass player. And I went, "Oh yeah, I can play bass." So that was how I started really. So I went down. We were managed by a guy called Joe Seabrook. This is in Watford, and I think he was a bodyguard for Hugh Cornwall and for Jagger as well. So he had a way into the industry, so to speak, and he managed the band. And within weeks, I was playing on a stage in Braga Stadium at the age of 16. So,
Oh wow.
of course, that ties you into never wanting to do anything else in your life.
Yeah.
So I went on from there. And of course, when we came back, that band split up. The guitarist met somebody, and you know the old story. And but my appetite had been whetted, and so I looked around. I joined another band, and then I hooked up with some other friends. In fact, there was a drummer that came in, a guy called Paul Ridgeley. And we were quite good buddies. And his brother Andrew had a band, the executive, and his best mate was a guy called George Michael, or Yog, as he was in those days. And I then got tied into the very very early Wham stuff. So I then went and played on some of their demos, and whilst my band on the other side was just being signed as well. And it sort of all started from there, really. I think a short time after all the usual, that band split up, and I think I then started to be much more of a, rather than being a band member, I started to be a bit more of a gun for hire. So I ended up playing with. Do you remember Hazel O'Connor?
Of course, yes.
The wonderful Hazel, who I love, and she's absolutely fantastic. I ended up playing with Hazel for about 10 years on and off on different tours and things. So that was a great pleasure. I played with the Q-Tips in their second, I suppose, form. Pretty much as Paul went, they carried on. Yeah, they had a variety of things after that, but. Yeah, so I played with them for a few years as well, and they were great times. It was some really good fun, yeah, and I got caught up with loads of different acts and played on loads of different things for different people, and yeah, generally had a really good time. So that was sort of my early career, which was playing bass and touring and doing all the bad things that you do when you're young and in a band. Really.
So from the age of about 16, that's when you started. Up until which age did you carry on playing until before you
Well,
started changing?
probably. I mean, I was earning. I mean, I made a living as being a musician,
Yeah.
probably mid to late 20s.
Mm.
So, and actually, I probably could have carried on. There was lots of opportunities, but you know, I mean, I was writing and just starting to produce as well, which I got into in a big way. I wrote. Actually, I did some bits with Hazel and Bonnie Tyler and a few others, which was really good fun and enjoyable. But as I got into it, I don't know. I think probably, if I'm really honest, which I should be, is that, well, number one, I wasn't a great producer. That's being really honest. If I was that great, I'd probably still be doing it today. But I wasn't. And but I loved the gear, and I loved the studio, and I loved just the recording process. I think I got a Chinook coming across here. It's very low.
I get them around here as well.
Yeah, so sorry if you can hear that.
That's right.
But yeah, and I think I really, I should say, I love the gear, I love the process, but I didn't like the working till 4 a.m. I met my wife around that time, and I was starting to settle down, and I just got a bit sick of, the politics that was, often went on in studios and everything. And I just thought, why am I doing this? And I never earned that a great deal amount of money either. So, and then I was approached actually to help somebody build a studio and just to get some advice on some of the gear to go into it. And and we built the studio, and it was brilliant. I really, really loved, everything from an empty room through to, a finished studio. And I then started to getting into sort of selling and distributing equipment, which is where I am even today. So I've been doing that for probably since I was in my sort of early mid 30s. I've been at that. So that's nearly 3 years.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a good 20 odd years. So, I've done some amazing things and met some incredible people, and looked after, the likes of Pete Townsend and all sorts of different people. It's been wonderful. So I've been quite blessed, I suppose. I'm still enjoying it today.
Excellent. Do you still play?
Yeah, love playing. I think more for the fun of it. I mean, there was a period, I suppose we all go through it, where we have to, play for a bit of money. So I certainly played and with a few function bands here and there, which was quite good fun. Actually, really, really good discipline. You had to learn lines properly. And when it's a good band, especially when you're doing sort of club and disco stuff, you find yourself playing Bernard Edwards lines. You've got to have your wits about you. And it's beautiful discipline to do that sort of stuff. And I love doing all that. And I often and I go out and play with. I have a band at the moment, which of course, like the rest of us, hasn't been out for a good year. And we cover some stuff and everything. Actually, more things like some Marcus Miller stuff, right through to a bit of Steely Dan, through to some out and out funk stuff, which is good fun. So so I love to play, and I still do sessions for people, and I still, in fact, I played on Hazel's last album, actually, bizarrely. I did 2 or 3 tracks on there, which was sort of quite nice. And I suppose with the way things are, you can easily somebody can shout out, they want you to play on the track, and you can, and the way everything's set up now, it's so easy just to mess around with it, play with it, send it back. Yeah, Dave, can you redo that bit? Or, maybe just it needs to be a bit more soulful, or I don't quite like the sound, whatever it is. It's, no problem. I can just, I can just replay it or whatever. And there's no pressure. It's not like it used to be in studios where they wanted the whole thing down in half an hour, and they would expect you to be able to, get a great take in that time.
But everything was so expensive 30 years ago. It cost a fortune to go into studios.
Yeah.
Whereas now it's so cheap, and you can have it in your laptop and produce a whole album.
Absolutely.
Easily. Yeah. And it happens all the time, of course. Do you have any particular guitars that you cherish, or you will never let go of? Any particular bass guitars that you go to?
Yeah, I have. It was my wife here. I have a couple of basses, sort of.
Oh, hidden away in the wardrobe.
No, I have the original Jazz that I used on the very first version of Careless Whisper and Wham Rap, which was, and I can't. And actually, it's. At that point, it seen better days, and I've had it worked on a few times, but it sits quite proudly upstairs, and I just can't. I haven't got the heart to get rid of it. And
but did you play on the original? You played on the original.
So I played on the demos. Unfortunately, I didn't play on the hits, the actual physical one that everybody listens to. But I played on. I actually have a version which I've well, there's a bit of a story behind this, because this is quite interesting. So I actually have, when I was asked to do it, there was myself and a guy called Paul Mex, who is a producer, and he's by his own ambition, he's still a punk at the age of, I suppose he's late 50s, the same as me. And he had original. I think you and I spoke about this. He had the original TIAC 4-track.
Yeah, we used to use that as well.
Exactly, yeah, and it was like the only one in Watford that had one. So when Andy and George and Andrew had said that they wanted to do these tracks, the obvious choice was to grab Paul and his TIAC and his Dramatics, I think it was, the little Dramatics drum machines. We all piled up to that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a flashback, that is.
They were great, yeah. I mean, it was great. And he had this, I can't remember the reverb, he had this little box reverb thing, and it was just, it had like a slap echo on it or something. It was really sort of crude, and at the time it was amazing, that we could actually pick it up and take it somewhere with us rather than having it, this great unit, racked up. So yeah, we piled around to Andrew's house in Bushy, and we planned to record Wham Rap because we sort of knew it, and we'd been working around the Chic Good Times bass line, exactly. And George is a bass player. I mean, he used to borrow my bass for his band, Executive, and so he knew his stuff, and he had a really good ear for anything to do at the bottom end. He just man was a genius, to be quite honest. Even from way before he became famous, he was an absolute genius. Knew what he wanted. But anyway, so we went in and we did Wham Rap, and there was me on bass. Andrew played the guitar, and and this was all to a Dramatic. So it was like we were like a little duo with a drum machine, and so we knocked the groove out, and then George did the vocal, which was remarkably like the single in the end. Actually, it was quite close to that, except for I think he said the word, if I'm allowed to swear, I think he said the word shit in the original rap. So that was major.
All right.
So so we did that, and then I think Paul, who I spoke about earlier, the drummer, and a couple of friends came round and we did the backing vocals and the shouty rap bit, and it was all good fun. And we were sort of just about to pack up, and George said, "Oh, we've got this other idea. Can we just put a bit down?" And then so they just showed me that it was basically four chord turnaround, and so we started playing it, and Andrew had obviously worked on it before. There was a definite line there, and I thought, well, this is quite nice. And we put it down, and we just went over it a few times. And George said, "Oh, I'll just knock a bit of a vocal in if that's okay, just to see what I've got." And he sang a verse and a chorus that was, well, the verse was, the lyrics were very different from what ended up on the record, but the chorus was pretty much what we hear today, and it was just one verse, one chorus, and then we just carried on playing, and that was it really. So Paul still had the master the master tape, the cassette of this 4-track, and both of us have been really nervous about it getting stolen or lost or getting into the wrong hands, as these things do sometimes. And eventually, Paul actually made contact with George's office. It was only a few years ago. It was actually not long before he died, and said, like, "Listen, we're just going to send them back. We don't want responsibility for him anymore." And George sent back his gold. I think it was a gold disc for Callous Whisper, actually George's, and he sent it to us. So that was really nice. That's a lovely thing to do.
Oh,
and I think. Paul jokes that he said there was a note in it, I think, when he got it, and he said that it said something like, "Listen, I didn't want to insult you with money, so we thought you'd give you this, which would be a nice keepsake." Oh. Paul just said, "You could have insulted me with money; it would have been fine. Don't worry." But yeah, it was very nice to have that, and Paul was very gracious enough to share it between us. And
do you have it? Do you have it? Do you have it, or somebody else?
I haven't got it here. Paul's got it at the moment. Yeah, so it's
You take it in turns to hang it up on the wall.
Well, sort of, yeah. I think it stays with Paul most of the time. To be quite honest, it's, you know how these things are. I certainly wouldn't bring it in a house where I've got builders in and everything at the moment. So, yeah, you tend to be cautious with these things. But it was just a nice thing for him to do, and it was very, very pleasing. But it was quite amusing.
That's the great thing about being in the music industry, is that we all have our own little memories which we take to our graves, which will always be there. We can always look back on them and relish in that past and those stories, which will always make us smile, And
do you find that? Because sometimes it's, and listen, I'm just a guy that played on it years and years and years ago, but you can be, I identified as the bloke that did that, and because you went and played with Flock of Seagulls, didn't you?
I did, yeah.
While? Is that right? Yeah. So, do you ever get that's the Flock of Seagulls guy?
Well, yes and no. The thing is, I was never an original member of the band. That's how I really started my musical career. I mean, properly. Yeah. Right. When I say properly, I mean I was playing for years before. But when I was 20, 21, when I met them and then I went to America, that was a really big thing for anyone to do at that age, to join Absolutely. A big band that just won a Grammy Award. And, we were followed absolutely everywhere in the United States. And I was just a keyboard player and backing vocalist for the band. But, yeah, people do mention it. I mean, I'm proud that I've done that I did that and made some good friends there to this day, keep in touch with some of them. And I've got some great photos and great memories of that tour. I mean, it was wonderful. And yeah, that's right. I mean, people, it's your history. You should always be proud of your history, whatever it may be, whether you play for a band that used to be very famous, like we did, or whatever it is. It's what makes us what we are now. And all those memories, are so important. And meeting those people at that moment in time have created where we are now, and it will continue. And I find it fascinating within the industry because we're all connected somehow in this industry. It's not just through music, but through the people that we know and we meet and we work with. And it's interesting how things pan out and how if we do, George wrote a song about it, different corner we never would have met. I mean, obviously that's a love story, but you can apply that to anything really, can't you?
So, yeah, absolutely. So what's your proudest moment then?
My proudest moment?
Yeah, musically.
That's a hard question. I think just doing what I'm doing, making money out of music, still to this
Yeah.
day, and doing what I love doing, performing, singing, playing keyboards, being involved, writing music, composing, working with different artists, going on the road, being in the studios, learning how to stream. It's like you're like a kid in a toy shop, surrounded by toys. Boys' toys.
Absolutely.
It's you know what it's
Absolutely.
like. It's like you run
I
studio
do.
spares. It's great
I
company,
do. Yeah.
and which I'll talk about in a moment. But me personally, it's uh, I think everything, even the mistakes that we make are very important. As long as you recognise that they're mistakes and you did something wrong or did something that you shouldn't have done, went down the wrong road or thought you were doing something good and it didn't turn out so good.
Yeah.
That's also good because without that, we wouldn't be where we are. We would just
Absolutely.
go down the road of living life thinking we're the best, and we're not. We're all the same. It's just recognizing how good we are within our field of entertainment of our talents and nurturing that and moving forward with that. I think the success, which is a very interesting word, I think is I think to be successful isn't how much money you've got in the bank or anything materialistic. It's if you're happy doing what you're doing, that is a success. So for me, I feel successful. I'm happy doing what I'm doing. I'm not rich at all. I have what I need. Living a humble
Well,
life.
that's the end of that conversation.
Yeah,
Then,
yeah.
Chris. Thanks so
So
much for your
bye.
time. Yeah. Yeah. No, I
but
agree.
but you know what I
Yeah.
mean. But what about you? I mean, what
Um,
what what is your? It's a hard question to answer. What is your greatest
it is.
achievement? So
Yeah.
what would you say is your greatest achievement?
Um, I mean, yeah. I agree. I sort of agree with you in that to still be active in the industry
Yeah.
and still be focused on the industry, whichever direction I come from,
Mm.
is really a wonderful feeling and a continued success, as you rightfully pointed out there. Um, I think I was probably referring to like given moments and actually,
Oh right.
and I think no, it's fine, it's fine.
Mm.
It was what was interesting to me is that everybody that I've worked with or done stuff with, or friends and family give me such a tough time about it. But the whole Wham thing is, almost like the legacy when I had the honor to play with some amazing people and actually even done things really recently that I'm so proud of doing. I'm working with, certain individuals. I was lucky enough. I mean, there were given moments like I ended up working with James Brown Funky People on a track, which was just absolute. I mean, I thought I'd actually genuinely died and gone to music
Right.
heaven. It was just amazing
Mm.
to play with those guys. I learned more about groove in 2.5 hours than I did in the rest of my life. They were just amazing. To have done that actually, and then go to the other end where I did a track recently with a couple of friends of mine, and Aaron Liddard was playing sax on it, and that was as I say, a Marcus Miller cover. And that's a song, it's not a song at all. It's a piece of music that I've always loved and always tried to play, and because I had to focus and get it down and work on the track, quite intently because I knew I was going to record it. At long last, after 30 years of playing, I achieved it. So that was an incredibly proud moment as well. And I think it's just all these little moments that, that rise to the top that I just sort of really love. And, it's quite cool.
Yeah.
Having worked with Townsend and sorting his studio out, things like that was, a real proud moment as well.
Mm.
That's
Pete Townsend.
Yeah, Pete Townsend.
Yep.
Sorry, Pete Townsend, not Chenzo. I've met Chenzo, but I haven't done too much with him. But yeah, Pete, and just helping some artists, with their studios and picking the right gear for them and just doing cool things like that can actually be really, really fulfilling. Knowing that the other side, or they call you back after and go, I've just check these out. There, it's amazing. It's exactly what you said it was. So, rather than you sold me a pile of crap, Dave. So those can be just as rewarding, I think. So often it's what surrounds it as much as the actual, the actual musician side of things, if you like.
Yeah, well, talking of studios, actually, that's a really interesting subject, seeing as you're supplying studio equipment.
Yes.
Let's talk a little bit about that, because that's something that absolutely fascinates me, and I love the subject, anything to do with equipment like this.
All right.
So I could pick your brains here for the next few hours, but I'm sure lots of people watching.
Of it.
Sorry?
I have plenty of the gear.
Yeah.
Warehouse.
Well, basically, the question I have is, going back 20, 30 years, even 40 years now, where we all remember how studios used to be, what we used to use in those days. We had lots of very heavy equipment, heavy mixing desks, power amps, everything was just weighed 20 times as much as it does now, if not more. And you had walls and walls of modular equipment, special effects, reverbs, limiters, you name it, compressors, you know the story. And they used to cost, upwards of £1 million, some of these big studios in those days, which is a huge amount of money then. Maybe not so much now, if you think about it. But then it was a fortune. And to rent them, it was very expensive to rent a studio, because this equipment cost so much. But say, going back 40, 30 years to the present day, how would you say studios have changed, bearing in mind that so much is done by software these days? So how did you see it change, and how much easier is it now to set up a studio for somebody that hasn't done it before, if they want to get started, especially young people that want to get into the music industry and they want to have a simple setup and then develop it slowly and add to it in a modular sort of way? How would they start, and what do you think is the ultimate, leading up to the ultimate studio? Where would you start?
I think technology has changed many worlds. I mean, look at video. Look at you and I talking now on Zoom, and I can see your picture there is excellent, and that's off your Mac, I suppose. It's not like you're using a £100,000 camera to film. So and the studio is the same thing. As you rightfully say, in the early days we had a tape recorder which was mounted with 2-inch tapes and had to be aligned every morning before the session, and then the tape lasted, what was it, 30 minutes, about half an hour you would get.
I've got some up in the attic, actually.
Yeah, there you go. 24 channels, and and that was just the recording. That wasn't the console, as you rightfully say, the dynamics or the effects or whatever. So I think, of course, like video, like telephones, like anything, like the typewriter, what happened to the typewriter? They've all developed. The technology has developed, and the computers allowed us to achieve amazing things in an incredibly high level, and with great ease. So actually, I think, and this is a bizarre thing to say, I suppose, but I think it's more about the way music's developed rather than how the gear's developed. I think the gear is just a tool, and it's how people use the gear that always make the difference. So because it's so accessible and so easy now, it's absolutely down to the user to produce something, whereas before in the studio, you could go and perform, but you needed an engineer that knew his stuff, was able to manage the session, was able to mix the track, and was able to then master the track. Like now, it's really, people could just do it on their laptop, as you said before, and have it on Spotify or iTunes or wherever within a matter of hours. So I think, although the gear has changed, it's not changed anywhere near as much as the way the industry has changed. That the gear, the internet, everything, or interweb, as we like to say,
Yeah.
Has changed the music industry as a whole, and that's everything from making music through to distributing music, through to selling music, through to getting new fans, through to all sorts of different things that have far more influence than a piece of dynamic, a compressor going from that into your computer. So they're just tools, but they're nice tools, they're fun tools, and they're great tools.
Yeah.
So I think the purists among us still like hardware. We still like a good mic pre with a decent compressor and an EQ. Whereas I would suggest that, I've got to be careful how I say this, a particular genre, let's say, are quite happy to work exclusively with software, and that's like everything from instruments through to, through to processing.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, I'm trying to be really cautious here. But listen, it doesn't matter. It's whatever, it's about this. It's still today. Actually, this is the consistent or the constant through the period that we've just spoken about. It is still about the song. It is still
absolutely
about if there is a vocal and if there's a band, it's still about the performance, even though that has been polished to within a millimeter of its life. There is performance out there still, but I still think it's about the song, and if these tools allow us to be more creative and come up with better or more allow you to be more consistent with your production and your songs, then great, that's what they're there for. It's still about the music, it's still about the song. It's just how we do it changes all the time. It continuously evolves as we go along, I think. So
it's very interesting. I mean, I remember back in the very early 90s, I bought this little pen. Not this one, another one. A little pen.
It's lasted well.
Yes, great. Yes, let's chat about pens. And it had a little recording button on the top. You press record, and you can record your voice for about 15 seconds or 10 seconds. Wow. For me, that was amazing. And it was the first time. That's when chips started getting smaller and smaller, and you could actually record audio, and it was quite good quality. And you could it's like a note-taking thing. It cost me about £20 or £30. It was a lot of money in those days. And I love my gadgets, and I bought this pen, and all I was thinking about was somebody's got to invent a recording system where you can just record the instruments onto a disc. And of course, shortly after that, here we are. That is it. We're recording onto discs. Computers got faster, processors got faster. So bearing that in mind, that evolution from little chips where you can record a few seconds of voice to recording infinite amounts of very, very high quality digital audio, and as many tracks as you want. Where do you think technology will go? I know we can't look into a crystal ball, but do you have any thoughts about where you think it's going, or where you would like it to go for the future, where it's going to evolve into?
It is interesting. But I think what we continue to see some real development over the last few years, actually, but not in the areas that you would necessarily think about. One of the things we all still need is microphones. We all still need microphones. We all still need speakers, monitors. We all still need headphones if you work in that environment. There are certain things that we must have, and that carries on. And what's been sort of interesting in the last few years is that things like is actually connectivity. So USB microphones, for example, they are a good tool for the right application and at the right time. So those sorts of developments have been interesting. I actually think a lot of the real step forwards have just not been in the music industry. I think they've been in the recording side, but in things like podcasting, things like mastering, actually, although that's obviously still the music industry. But certainly podcasting, certainly the world of voiceovers, and the narrative or the spoken word. Sorry, Chris, 1 second.
right.
I'm just going to wait. Oh, hi there. How are you? Sorry, I'm just on a podcast. I do apologise. You might want to cut that bit. Sorry, Chris.
That's all right. I'll have a cup of tea, no problem.
Yeah. Somebody I've never met before. They've just gone out the door.
That's all right.
So let me cut back to that. So,
Yeah.
Like the world of podcasting and is taken significant steps, and actually it's sort of almost like radio broadcast been brought in to work online, so to speak. So things like Rode have brought out their Rodecaster, and which is literally just a great little desk with all your cues, and you can bring in phone lines and mic lines and everything. So that sort of technology has moved at a real pace. The connectivity between video and audio. So as musicians, we can now just perform, to make something for YouTube or whatever, in such an amazing way that we could just never do before. And YouTube has actually pushed that on. I mean, YouTube has not been around for long. When was it? When did that?
About 10 years, isn't it?
Yeah,
no, 10, 15 years.
I think it's about 12, 13 years, isn't it? I'd have to check, but that demand has driven the technology, if you like, and so as a result now, literally anybody can make a video, and especially musicians. I mean, I'm playing bass on all these different sessions, and half of them are going, yeah, can you now put that on video, please? Because we want to cut that together and put it up on YouTube. So I think there's been a lot of development in there. So I think if I was going to put some money down on, what the next phase was, if you like, I think whatever it is, it will be involved with video. There will be a cross section. Zoom, the company, not the Zoom that you and I are on now, but Zoom, the Japanese company that make lots of recording devices. I mean, they've just recently brought out a bunch of different camera stroke audio devices that you could literally just put there, record your guitar, sing, and you would have a performance that you can put on YouTube that's quite comfortable. So I think there's going to be lots more of that as time goes on, because it's all driven by demand. It's it's whatever's required, or whatever people are looking to do. We've just released, actually, so I will talk about Studio Space here for a second.
Yes,
if that's all right.
Please do.
So there are two or three things that that prove that point, so to speak. So at Studio Space, where I am the managing director, one of the things that I really want to do is to find real genuine solutions to real genuine problems, and there are plenty of problems out there, but
there are. I can tell you a few. I can certainly tell you a few right now. Gladly.
And one of them actually, which has grown out of. Actually, I started to design it before COVID hit, but as COVID hit, it became very apparent that this product was required, and that was, to have a solution, a portable vocal booth, if you like. So to have an acoustic environment, or a good acoustic environment, is really difficult. Even in large studios, even if you've got a small studio, just sticking foam on the wall does not make it a good vocal environment. There's all sorts of issues that you can suffer. Standing waves. When you've got a corner in a room, no matter if it's treated or not, the waves gather in that corner and take longer to come out. So if you have a microphone in the middle, then you've got the direct signal, and you've got all these other sort of sounds going on around, and it just messes up the sound in lots of different ways. So what I wanted to do is to make a portable vocal booth that people could effectively set up, whether it's at their home, in the garage, in a studio, wherever, but get a really, really good sound. So we came up with a thing called the portable vocal booth, the PVB. And that in itself, that is a genuine solution. This literally means that you can be anywhere, as long as you've got some room, because it's still quite big. This will take all those issues away. So when you put a microphone in there, you're listening to the source signal, which is either the voice or the guitar or whatever you're playing in there, rather than the rest of the room. And that alone, as simple as it is, is huge. It makes such a difference. It's massive. So those sort of things things like acoustics are becoming much more important now, because so many more people are working from home. So many more people have built a little studio down the bottom of the garden or off the back of the house or whatever. And you have to be able to treat it. You have to be able to do something decent with it.
Do you think that technology, the way it's going, will be able to emulate those sounds that are taken out by the use of an acoustic treated system like the one you have? In other words, what I'm trying to say is, bearing in mind that the technology is always there to make sounds better, do you think we will always need that kind of equipment?
Well, let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question. Do you think we need auto-tune or Melodyne?
Do I think we need it? It's got its uses, for sure.
Yeah.
Well,
it's probably the same with a device that will treat a room. What I mean is, sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot there. What I meant was that there will always be those sorts of solutions come out. There will always be a tuner, an automatic guitar tuner. There will always be these things.
Yeah.
But my personal view is those things, as soon as you do it, you're treating it. It will never sound the same as the original.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
It's just never going to be the same. I will argue that until the council.
Oh no, I absolutely agree with you. I mean, it's as a singer, you can't beat a great room where you can hear a totally dead sound, where you can add the best reverb, the best delay, whatever you got. I mean, I cannot wait to get to a studio where I've got the most amazing microphone and sound booth, and it is priceless. You can't beat it.
There will be there are sort of solutions that will help you already, to be fair, but
you can tell the difference. You can always tell the difference.
I tell you, and also is that if you take a voice that's slightly out of tune, it's mathematics. Yeah, it knows that if you want to take this note to a C, and it's sort of C flatty sharpy, the algorithm knows that it can move it to the C. If I put it there, it'll be the perfect pitch. Now, what it does to the signal is, questionable. It might actually sound okay, but if you use a lot of it, then you get that sort of envelope sounds or whatever. So that's preference, and it's a very subjective thing, I suppose. But it will do the job, and it will do the job perfectly if you tell it to go to a C. The difference with acoustics is that there is no. I suppose the perfect C, if you like, is to get the microphone sounding exactly how you want it, but that is still much more subjective than a perfect note. And treating your room would be different from treating my room, would be different from treating a village hall. There are so many variations out there, or variants within a room, to be honest, that I can't imagine a single plugin doing. I can imagine it will clean up the area. There's, in the same way there's mic modeling, and guitar modeling. You can get nearer. Yeah, and there's actually some amazing guitar modeling out there, or guitar amp modeling.
Yeah.
But yeah, for something like, um, it's easier to apply ambience than it is to take it away, I think.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I crave to have just a perfect vocal sound. It's the holy grail, isn't it? Just to get that amazing sound for the voice, to put it on the record. So
and it enhances performance as well. It's not just the sound.
does.
I think
It's inspiring.
when you, yeah, exactly. It's like when you've got the great guitar sound or great keyboard sound, it makes you play better because you just,
Yeah.
it feels great. You play with it, you're confident, and that's the same with a vocal, I suppose. Is that if you've got a great environment and it feels right. I mean, I certainly get that from voiceover artists who have struggled, have been like doing voiceovers literally with quilts over their heads and things like that to try and drive the sound.
Yes.
And then try to do a talking book or
there are some devices online that are best avoided for that reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, it's an interesting concept, Chris. I'm going to go away and I'm going to start programming, see if I can come up with something.
Oh no, please don't.
That's because it has been called the Mars anti-ambient.
Yeah, oh no. I was actually looking at a couple of 2-3 years ago. I was thinking of building a booth in here.
Right.
You know, a proper booth. It's just too big, but the one that you have is amazing. And we'll put links down below to people to click on it and have a look.
Thank you. Yeah, it's imperativeaudio.com. You can see it there.
Yeah.
Or actually, it's on studiospares.com. You can go there as well and just put PVB in the search engine. It'll come up. But yeah, it is cool and it makes a difference. And yeah, I'm very proud of it. Actually, if I'm honest with you, it's quite a crowning moment for me. It's very nice.
When did it come out, actually?
So we did like a pre-launch just around December with a voiceover organisation which we work with, and I think actually we had about 80 people on the webinar, and I think we sold 28 that night. Yeah, because everybody just got the value of it. And of course, the difference is when you're there. You know, it's actually maybe I should have done it at Studio Spares. I could have shown you, because when you're talking like this, and then you walk into a booth, the mic there, and you hear it, it's just it's instant. You know, you could be listening to a BBC.
Well, I saw the video, which people can link to from here, and of course at the end when you walk away from it, you can hear the difference, and it's phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, it really does prove the point. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. And actually, if you go on imperativeaudio.com and see it there, you see that video, and then further down there's another video that shows the lads sort of putting it up and taking it down again, which is quite cool because it shows you how well it folds up and how you can put it away.
Is it just one size, or do you have a smaller size as well?
No, that's a good question. So,
for example, like a desk.
Well, actually, you can put that on a desk because
for podcasts,
because it's 5 legs. What you can do is actually bring up the back 3, and then actually it goes around, which is what a lot of VO artists do, and talking book or. Is that the term? I'm not sure. But anyway,
podcasters or voiceover artists,
voice performers, and podcasters, because they want to sit down. So, so the back legs retract, and you just put it onto your tabletop effectively, and then the 2 legs at the entrance of the booth can then carry on, and you can have them on the floor, and then you have a perfect booth at the on the tabletop. We looked at, so when I was designing it, we did different sizes just to see how effective it was, and actually where we ended up was where we got the best readings. That's where we got the best performance. Bearing in mind it's open behind you, and it's open from your waist down, so to speak. You know, you still get movement of audio. So if that comes up higher, then all you're doing is killing a few reflections. You'll still get that movement, and it will still hit the mic. At the moment, it's the perfect height and circumference to give you that great sound. If we go smaller and more open, we're close to a reflection filter really, and it does nothing more than cut out a couple of reflections at the back end, which and it's fine for that. But if you compare that to the PVB, it's a world apart, an absolute world apart. So yeah, we're looking at. I have a couple of other designs in mind, and we are looking at a couple of bits, but I'm afraid I can't talk about those at the moment.
Okay.
But
hopefully in the near future, then we'll have some more products from you.
Yeah, that would be. Yeah, you will. It's yeah, you will. But it's a case of when. It's very tough out there with manufacturing and shipping at the moment, so it's really hard.
Yeah. Where is it made?
It's actually made in China.
Right. Well, most things are made in China these days, aren't they?
yeah. I mean, it's really sort of quite difficult. Yeah, this is quite interesting actually. So here we go. This is a good question. So I remember. So we've just bought a couple of microphones out from Imperative Audio as well. There's one called the Lucent and one called the Vocaster. And the Lucent is a condenser, multi-pattern condenser with 10 dB pad on it and low cut as well. And it's a great little mic. And if you do a mic like that, it's almost like you must sell it at £400 to £500 and say it's from, either the UK or America or whatever. And we've had that this mic that was made in China. We've had it lined up with 5 or 6 other microphones and done blind tests. And rarely does our mic come, I think once it came first, but rarely does it come in the bottom 3. It's always near the top. Now, what happens is when you tell somebody, they say, oh, where's it made? And you say China, they go, oh, right. And it's, well, what's wrong with making it in China? And they'll say, well, it's China's rubbish. And I said, well, where's your TV made? Where's your fridge components come from? Where's half the things in your house come from? But that's it's not about where it's made. It's it's the quality and that's in the product that really matters, because the chances are, in fairness, you wouldn't be wearing those headphones, have that mic or the computer that we're talking on.
Exactly. Yeah, just about everything is made in China because it's such a big country and they have got the resources to make these products.
Yeah.
At a very much cheaper price than we can in the West.
Yeah, that's changing
to a certain extent.
It's changing at the moment because how long that's for. COVID has done some strange things to manufacturing, and I hear all these conspiracy theories about China starting COVID because it was good for their manufacturing and their workforce, which is absolute rubbish. I mean, it's actually not helping them at all. And if you then add the various taxes that if you're shipping into America or anywhere or from any Asian state, I think, but primarily China, they stick 25% on the pricing as well. So it's actually becoming quite expensive. And if you then look at shipping, the price of metals and aluminium specifically has rocketed for them. If you then look at shipping and actually even being able to get a container to put anything in at the moment, and if you then put Brexit on top of that, and then the Suez Canal incident the other week, we're lucky we've got any goods coming in at all.
That's true,
so,
yes.
And all that does is push prices up. So then the question is, actually, could we make product A in the UK or in Europe even, or whatever? So we keep our eyes on that constantly. We're not there yet, and maybe we will be, maybe we won't be. I suspect it'll all calm down next year, and all the prices will come back down again, and they'll be trying to hit us up for all sorts of different things then.
Yes.
But at the moment, it's an interesting time. I think we're all going to see price increases on lots of different products. Yes. Especially in the music industry, because everybody's struggling to get stuff in. And
do you have any ambitions for the near future? Any unfulfilled dreams that you wish to pursue within the music industry that you want to tick?
To play bass for you, Chris.
Oh, right. Apart from playing bass for me.
One of your tours. there's two or three things.
I'll hold you to that.
Okay, I would be more than pleased to do that. Yeah, I think what I particularly love at the moment is just playing with people. If I'm really honest, I have no desire to go on, a 2-year tour with a major star or anything. I love my life, if I'm honest with you. But I do like playing with different people. And I got to play with a guy called Ellis Hall, an American artist who was in Tower of Power and
fantastic band.
This guy's absolutely amazing. And to go and play with him, that was at the NAMM show actually.
What was he playing actually?
Sorry?
What was he playing?
He's a keyboard player. Go and check out Ellis Hall. Actually, if you go to YouTube, and I've got a little channel on there called Westy on Bass. If you go and look at that there, you'll see my very worried performance with him.
Okay. We'll put that link down. I'll put that link down here as well.
Yeah, I'll give it to you. So basically what happened was, so Ellis Hall is Ellis Hall. I mean, this is the man that played with Tower Power. I mean, he's worked with everybody from Stevie Wonder. I mean, he's buddies with Stevie, I believe. And actually, I think Ellis was the only artist to be signed to which label was it now? Oh, I can't remember the label now. But yeah, listen, he's been around for years. He's worked with so many artists, so many like great classic artists. And every time I saw him on Facebook the other day, and he Candy Dolph was there playing with him, and then there's pictures with him and Michael McDonald and everything. So he's just one of those universal players. He was the only person to be signed to Ray Charles's album by Ray Charles himself. Okay. When he was around. Ellis is also blind and just an incredible musician, but has the soul of an angel. I mean, just his voice is just astonishing. And anyway, he turned up at NAMM, and I was working with a company called RME at the time, who made amazing audio interfaces.
I have one right in front of me. That's what I'm speaking to.
What have you got?
I've got the RME Fireface.
Which one?
The Fireface. The Fireface UCX.
UCX, yeah. I have one of them. Beautiful.
Very, very good. Incredible.
Yeah, and their drivers are rock solid as well.
Best in the industry, I think. I mean, really top quality.
Absolutely, I agree with you. So anyway, he was going to be a guest on the stand, and I was there, and actually somebody who worked for RME said, "Oh, you must meet Dave," and then he had heard about my history and said, "Come and guest with me." I said, "Well, what do you mean, come and guest with you?" And he said, "Oh, yeah, we'll do some tracks," because he was going to demo on the stand. And have you been to NAMM, Chris?
No, I haven't actually.
All right, I've
never ever been, because I was always working at that time.
It's a great experience, and plus it's you get to go to Anaheim or LA.
Absolutely,
in the middle of winter, so that's always a bonus. But what you've got to understand is that you could be there, you could be standing there chatting to somebody 1 minute, and then Stevie Wonder will come past, or
there's plenty of those videos on YouTube actually at NAMM.
Yeah,
people are playing, and suddenly he walks by.
I was talking to Nathan East the last time I was there. I mean, it's just anybody can pop up. So so it's quite cool. But sure enough, he said, "Yeah, come and play with me," and he was like playing organ and piano, and I was on bass. I said, "We've not got a drum." He goes, No, come on, it'll be great. We'll just do it." And I said yes foolishly. I said, "Yeah, okay," and because the thought of playing with Ellis Hall was just quite exciting for me. So we sat down, and I said, "What we could do?" He said, "Oh, don't worry, I'll start. Just join in." So and he wasn't going to do any 12-bar stuff. Oh no. He was straight in with Higher Love, I think, or something with Stevie Wonder. So. It was rather demanding, and you can see the panic in my face if you watch the video. But to do that stuff is really exciting, and I would love to just play with lots of different people and have people come and guest on stuff that I do, and just enjoy music for the sake of music. Personally, I have no desire to be a millionaire out of it or anything. It's just I love great tunes and great performances.
Absolutely, and long may it continue.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
For us both. For us all.
Well,
Have Sorry, are we near our time? I suppose we are, but
Soon.
I just wanted to ask you.
Yeah.
So during COVID in this last year,
Mm.
it, and I know you're a very active person online anyway, but I mean, where do you feel that you've connected with your audience in a new way that you wouldn't have done before COVID? Is there anything new that's come out of it for you?
Absolutely. I mean, I mentioned this in our group meetings that we're both involved in, and absolutely, I've learnt to use equipment for streaming. I've had to learn from the very beginning, just over a year ago now, and it's been a real learning curve, learning how to use OBS, Studio, green screens, special effects, stream decks, A10 Mini Pros, and things like this, and that's just for the visuals. Of course,
Yeah.
then you've got the audio, so you've got to make sure that the audio's best quality. That's going to be passed through into the OBS Studio system. How people are going to view it? Are you going to have any delays, any millisecond problems? You're going to have to dial out, sort all that out, get the computer up to scratch, and yeah, it's been a real learning curve. And I think a lot of people around the world have been doing that. And I was going to mention it earlier because we were talking about this kind of thing earlier on, about studio equipment and so forth, and you were talking about how things will develop in the future, and you believe that these units, like for example the Zoom with the, or was it the
Yeah, there's a few. There's a
the
roadcast.
all-in-one units that are going to make it a lot easier for you to video yourself and have top quality audio. Well, the people that I bought a lot of this equipment from, who are one of the UK's top companies, they completely and utterly sold out of A10 minis, of a lot of the Blackmagic design cameras, all the expensive cameras costing tens of thousands. They sold out of those. People just buying it everywhere. They just couldn't get it. A green screen. I've got a green screen down here. You couldn't get them for love of money. Before that green screen, I had to buy a green curtain.
Yeah.
That's the only way. You just could not get them anywhere. So what I've learned is to just use the equipment that I eventually, obviously, once again, China. These are made in China. This is some of the world's best equipment made in China. So we had to wait for it to be flown over from China. I mean, as you know, they've got some of the most incredible factories out there. Yes, many years ago, there was a bit of a stigma with products made in China, maybe from the 60s or 70s or 80s. But now, I mean, that is just, they are right up there. They're incredible. And hats off to a lot of the companies over in China for making some of the most amazing equipment. The quality is superb. The quality of the plastic and the rubber used and the metals, and it's absolutely top whack. And quality is the one of the secrets. Don't go for anything less than the best quality when it comes to this kind of equipment, because if you buy it cheap, you buy it twice, always.
Yeah,
Always
I was just thinking that very phrase. Yeah, it's true. Yeah. We had a sort of similar thing. I've been working with Pete Mills and Pete Harris on the Live Lounge TV project, and because Pete Mills has Sand Hill Studios down in Guildford, and they put about 8 cameras in, and they're doing some wonderful things with streaming. And of course, he has a whole second source system and Pro Tools system in there, so they're literally able to film and record multi-track at the same time, and to mix on the fly if it's going out to a stream, or to video a band and then do post-production, or both. Actually, they can do a stream and then do the post after.
Yeah.
So they're doing some really interesting things. And again, this goes back to personally, I think the whole demand situation, because I know we want to go out play live again, and we probably will this summer, but I'm personally not convinced that audiences will come flocking back for some time yet. There's a real confidence issue out there. So
there is, yeah.
This whole demand that's being created, bizarrely.
I think you're right the first time.
Being created, that's driving that technology again, isn't it? So
yeah.
And I think we'll see more and more streaming. I think audiences will demand different things of their stream rather than just the performance. I did one with a couple of weeks ago where I was guest, and part of the experience was, and that was at Live Lounge as well. And the part of the experience was, as a VIP guest, they did a post-show Zoom call, like a VIP thing, and gave away some stuff in the competition, and it just made for a whole experience rather than just watching the stream and typing, which is love. It's just nice. There's nothing wrong with that. But to then have that extra experience after, and maybe able to win something and engage and connect, which I think we're going to see much more of that sort of thing as well. And that's, people are starting to demand that, and artists need to buy into it and start working with it and understanding it.
Yeah, I'm absolutely fully behind anything to do with making it as easy as possible especially for musicians to get out there and to get their music out, whatever it may be. There are so many new apps coming up now, new companies that are developing platforms, some good, some not so good. But yeah, I think it's a big melting pot now, and in the next 6 to 12 months, I think it's going to be really. I think it's a very exciting time actually, because there is a huge demand now, and it's not going to go away. Even if we were to come out of the pandemic tomorrow, which we won't, it'll be here at least another year or two before things really start settling down and the economy starts to, get better. But at least we're on the way out of it on the biological time frame, which is the most important thing.
I agree.
But for sure, I think streaming and being able to appear on someone's phone in high quality audio, visual, with text, with all the information on the screen using OBS Studio, or for example with the Stream Deck, is fantastic.
Yes.
I mean, it's absolutely amazing what you can do. Just press a button and you've got whatever you want on the screen, or just power up the computer. Everything can be done at the push of a button. Backdrops, videos. I mean, I've got mine here, programmed up with the help of a very good friend of mine, may I add. I think Stream Deck should be paying me for this. There you go. I mean, there's a cable here.
Send them an email quick.
Yeah, I think I should. If anyone wants to buy a Stream Deck, then just click on it. But
yeah, open to sponsorship.
I am absolutely open to sponsorship. Studio spares owners, please. Take note.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but it's no, but it's I think I'm very excited by it. I was saying many months ago when I started getting into the streaming that it felt right. It felt, well, now you can do what you want. You can just perform the music that you want, push it out there, and just get it right. And there's no filter. It's all live. Yeah. And people can pay for it. You can give it for free. You can create a community. People can talk on the screen, and they can chat, and they can chat to you. They can chat to other people, and it's a new way of communicating. And I think it was a necessity waiting to happen, because we couldn't go out. We couldn't go to the pub. We couldn't go to clubs. We couldn't work as musicians. We couldn't go to the shops. We were locked in for month after month all over the world. People were craving that human connection, and streaming just came out into its own, and it will continue for sure.
Absolutely, yeah. No, I think it'll just get bigger and bigger, and I think there'll be lots of hybrid gigs. I was actually talking to Alex Ellis last night for a little while, and we were talking about this, and the whole hybrid gig is gonna take over. I think where you could maybe have VIPs physically at the concert, and then you have the stream, the whole thing being streamed, at the same time. So it's a bit of a hybrid gig, if you like. So I think more, and that also allows you to bubble your VIPs as well, even during this period. It can start and it can work. So I think we'll see more and more of that as time goes on.
Absolutely.
Yeah, very good.
Well, it's been a fascinating hour or so, Dave.
It has, Chris. Flying.
Yeah, we could go on forever like this.
Probably could.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Very good.
Absolutely. I could talk to you for God knows how much longer.
Another 2 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah, another 10 seconds would be fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's been great. It's been wonderful hearing about your past and what you're doing now, and the incredible. I was going to say gadgets, not gadgets. The devices that you've got for sale in the studio spares. For me, they're gadgets. They're all gadgets, and they're brilliant.
Everything's a gadget. Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
well, I'll definitely put all the links down below to your website and to the what do you call it again? What was the actual name of the?
The PVB, the portable vocal booth. Yeah. Portable
PVB.
vocal booth.
Yes,
Yeah.
of course. It does look amazing, and I urge anyone watching this who's remotely interested in recording their vocals at a top professional level to check it out, because it looks and I'll probably end up getting one once I've rearranged the studio here for sure. It's a lot. Yeah, we'll definitely talk. Definitely. Well, it's been fascinating. Thanks again.
Thank you, Chris.
Continue success, and hope everything becomes safer, and we can all play music together and carry on as normal, and go down the pub and have a pint and talk about effects boxes and keyboards and guitars.
That would be wonderful. I'm looking forward to it, Chris.
And having a pint. I mean, that's what we will look for, isn't it?
Absolutely. Well, thank you for your time. It's very nice of you to.
Oh, that's great. Wonderful. Thanks for the fantastic stories about George Michael and Andrew Ridgeley and all the incredible stories. Thanks for that. Very, very interesting.
Thank you. All right.
So take care. All the best, and see you in the next episode.
See you soon. Thanks.
Bye-bye.